morning and welcome to Real Estate Live UK. Our programmes are free to attend virtual events run 3 times a year in February, June and October. The programme is brought to you by White Label, our partners and our sponsors. And before we get underway, we'd like to take this opportunity to thank all those organisations that have contributed to an exceptional lineup over the next 3 days. During this week's sessions, places across the UK are showcasing investment opportunities, and industry-leading experts from the public and private sectors are exploring ideas and topical issues related to property. You can view the full programme of sessions for today, tomorrow and Thursday by visiting our website, realestatelive.co.uk. Several panels and presentations this week are linked to our key themes: sustainability and biodiversity, inclusive communities and future infrastructure. Right now, we have our Opportunity Mid-Sussex panel, where we will be looking at a sustainable, connected community in the making. And just before we start, I'd like to remind you, the audience, to please feel free to ask questions using Zoom's Q&A function. Now, I'm pleased to hand over to our chair for this session, Simon Taylor, who is the RTPI Regional Chair for South East. Over to you, Simon.
Thanks very much for that, Shelley, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to this panel event. As Shelley quite rightly said, my name is Simon Taylor. I am the South East Regional Chair for the Royal Town Planning Institute, the RTPI, and I'm also a town planner by trade. I'm delighted to be facilitating this panel discussion with our speakers, looking at the concept of sustainable communities through the lens of 20-minute neighbourhoods and how this is actually being achieved on the ground in practice, specifically in Mid-Sussex. We'll also be exploring how effective partnership working across different levels is instrumental in achieving this goal. So to introduce the panel, we have Councillor Stephen Hiller, who is the Cabinet Member for Economic Growth at Mid-Sussex District Council. We have Sally Blomfield, the Divisional Leader for Planning and Economy, also at Mid-Sussex Council. Chris Founds, the Director of CJ Founds Associates. And we also have Graham Hislop, the Projects Director for the South at Homes England. What I will be doing is I will be asking each speaker to make some opening remarks to start, and then we shall see where the discussions take us as a result. As Shelley said at the top of this session, we will be taking questions from the floor via the question and answer function here on Zoom. So please do make sure that if you want to get involved and ask the panel a question, use that function. We will not be using the chat function to take questions, but please do use the chat function to speak to other delegates and also to share your thoughts about the presentations you're about to hear and the discussions you're about to hear. So if everybody is ready, I would like to come to Councillor Hillier first. And Councillor, I wonder if you could actually explain to us what is a 20-minute neighbourhood and why is Mid-Sussex District Council incorporating these principles into its working, especially in its planning and place shaping?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'll take that in 2 parts. So what is the 20-minute neighbourhood? Well, I guess one of the good things to come out of this wretched pandemic is reawakened our appreciation of a sense of communities, and especially through the lockdowns, as many of us switched to shopping and activities within our own neighbourhoods. So 20-minute neighbourhood is all about living locally, being connected with the local community, and where possible, working locally. So in other words, the ability to meet most of your daily needs within a short walk or cycle from your home. So this means having well-connected paths, streets, open spaces, and also facilities at the heart of the community, like education and health and well-being. And it also rightly requires a diverse range of housing, including affordable and good access to all jobs, be it by commute or local employment opportunities. And I think on this particular question, the final point is, on top of that, it's also about digital connectivity. So high broadband speeds and good 5G connections. These have become essential now to being able to work and locally and flexibly. And I think that reflects the dynamic changes to current working life, and also rapid technological advancements that are changing the ways that upcoming generations are going to be going about their lives. So, I mean, that partly answers your second part of your question, Simon, which is, why have we incorporated these into our policies? Well, quite frankly, it just seems the right thing to do. Actually, the concept of a 20-minute neighbourhood was hard-baked into our policy framework at Mid-Sussex long before the pandemic pushed it up the agenda. And so this development of sustainable communities is a key objective. And is actually why I think quite groundbreakingly we've merged our sustainability strategy with our economic strategy, because it's the whole economy is a significant contributor to tackling climate change, which I think all of us recognise has to be a key thing that we all must focus on. But it also provides another lot of benefits that employees and employers are looking for. So by encouraging more active travel, like walking and cycling, it improves mental and physical health and resilience dramatically. And this isn't just about the commute, but also, and we're very blessed in mid-Sussex, easy access to open spaces in the countryside. As I alluded to earlier, it increases social connections within one's community. It helps you feel that you really belong and opens up opportunities for things like volunteering. And I know I find that without beating my drum, it just gives you that sense of well-being that comes from contributing positively to your neighbourhood. It boosts local economies by upping local spend. And we actually saw during the lockdown that activity in our villages and small centres increased between 40 to 55%, which was great news for them and interesting to see. And also, by delivering that gigabit connectivity, we can cater for the ultimate flexibility for home working without that frustration that I think all of us have experienced at some point, Simon, of slow broadband, but also it's at scale, so we can cater for the demand. So, yeah, we just feel that we're doing the right things. We're providing what we believe today's companies want from their facilities and their locations and what prospective employees are expecting. And yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
No, that really does. Thank you very much, Councillor Hiller. And, you know, I think the pandemic has definitely brought everything into really sharp focus. It's not just about housing numbers or the employment. It's also about the well-being, the green spaces, making sure people have the connectivity in order to work from home effectively, while also making sure that the local economies function as well. If we are going to be in this pattern of working from home or this hybrid working from home going forward. So no, thank you very much for that. And I'm pretty sure we'll touch on some more, go back to some of those points throughout the rest of the session. Sally, if I can come to you next. Obviously, we've just heard from Councillor Hillier there on how Mid-Sussex is looking to take forward these principles of 20-minute neighbourhoods into its plan making and development and so on and so forth. But how actually is the council putting the 20-minute neighbourhood concept into practice, with specific reference to the Burgess Hill programme, which I think is your major strategic element, isn't it?
It is. Thank you very much, Simon. Yes, it is one of our flagship programmes. I think Amy's got some slides because we're very firmly in the delivery phase, and it's always really nice to be able to show what we've been delivering over the last couple of years. So next slide, please, Amy. It's a big programme. Burgess Hill, we're seeking to grow that community from a population of 30,600 to over 45,000 in the next 10 years. It's big by anybody's standards. And it's how we're going to do that. Visioning is at the heart of success in a growth programme like that. So it's not just about the housing. In order to deliver that growth, we've got Graham here who will be talking about the 3,500 new homes being delivered at the Northern Arc. We've got new homes also in the east of the community, around 500. And then we've got other housing schemes coming forward. But really important and at the heart of all of this is the community. Clearly, we're delivering this for the existing community and for the new community that we're growing. So that's really important. And I think it's fair to say that community visioning has taken some years for this programme. These programmes don't happen overnight. The Burgess Hill Growth Programme started in the early 2000s. And led to the development of a town-wide strategy, which was approved in 2011. So you can see how long it's been in the making. We also have Neighbourhood Plan 2016, which supports this, and then other policies sitting firmly within our district plan. But the vision that was set out originally in 2011 by the community is a strong vision, and it's the vision that we're all working to. And that really is for Burgess Hill to be a fully sustainable 21st century town. And I think that says it all in terms of 20-minute neighbourhoods. However, the vision went on to say they wanted new communities supported by the necessary infrastructure, employment opportunities, and access to green space. So I would say community is the starting point. It's at the heart of the programme. And you can see here a graphic that's been produced by the community at Wivelsfield Station. So our friendly community. The community clearly feel very much part of this programme. Amy, next slide, please. So the programme is, as you would expect, complex and has a range of interdependent projects. On the screen here, you can see annotation of 15 of those key projects, but at any one time, we have 20 to 30 projects running. The significant housing development is at blue at the top of the screen. That's the Northern Arc, 3,500 homes. We've got employment along to the west, which is the dark purple and the pale purple and the light green. We've got a dualling programme, which is the double yellow lines heading to the west, connecting to the A23. We've got town centre programmes, we've got station regeneration programmes, we've got sustainable transport programmes. So it is all encompassing, and it has to be like that in order to ensure that we're delivering the correct infrastructure at the right time for this growing community. Next slide, please, Amy. So this is where the delivery phase is very exciting. Who doesn't love a photograph of infrastructure being delivered? So in the bottom left-hand corner, we've got the dualling of the A2300. So that's our link between Burgess Hill Town Centre, all that growth at the Northern Arc, all that employment growth direct to the A23, just a short hop. Now that dualling is almost complete, but what's interesting about this photograph is you can see that network of sustainable transport routes as well crossing the A2300. So it's not just about arriving at places by car, it's ensuring our community is connected both from the homes to places of employment and back into the town centre. All these projects are big spend projects. So the A2300, nearly 21 million, will be complete in the next couple of weeks. The image to the top of that is Fairbridge Way. It's an additional housing site, a difficult, complex site that was an old sewage treatment works. But you can see that we've had investment from Homes England in terms of forward funding to deliver the remediation of that site and also some of the infrastructure. And then the two remaining images are sewage treatment works. So Goddard's Green Sewage Treatment Works is to the north of the A2300. And it was important to ensure that we reduced the odour contours. Nobody wants to live or work in an area that particularly smells of sewage. And therefore, we've invested, or we've secured investment of 10.5 million to improve the works at the sewage treatment works, reduce those odour contours, and actually importantly to improve its sustainability. So it's now got the technology to use the gas emissions to generate electricity. So it's a pretty significant scheme. I should say all of these schemes have been delivered in partnership with the Coastal Capital LEP, Homes England, and West Sussex County Council. And there are significant amounts of grant funding that have been required to deliver these, and we have been successful in securing that grant funding. Chris is going to be talking to you about some of the other significant infrastructure, particularly the sustainable transport, 21 million, and the £15 million worth of investment in digital infrastructure. Next slide, please, Amy. But it's not all about big pieces of kit and hard technology. It's about soft and community infrastructure as well. And you can see some of what we've been delivering here on this slide. Disappointingly, I've been restricted to 5 minutes. We could clearly talk forever about this programme because it's very mature and big. But you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, new playground, Maple Drive, delivered last year. The image to the north, to the top of that, is the community facility at Keema Brick and Tile Works. Then the central image is of the green circle, which surrounds a network of open space which surrounds Burgess Hill. Really important, and we've been investing in that. And then a new replacement library in the heart of the town centre. This is now one of the most popular libraries in the whole of West Sussex. And I think that's because it's been moved into the heart of the town centre, and it's also combined library and the registry office. So the footfall to this library is pretty significant. So next slide, please. So this is my final slide, and it is about ensuring the mix of uses is right. And I think it's something that Councillor Hillier said. We must ensure that we're not just providing new homes to increase that population, but it's providing opportunities for employment as well. So we are improving the existing business parks and investing in those, but we've also got significant amounts of new employment space coming on stream in order to meet that future demand, and also to enable people to have local opportunities to access good employment. So I think that's my 5 minutes well and truly up. Thank you very much, Simon.
No, thank you very much for that. That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, as a planner, and I've worked in the public sector for a while now, it's really encouraging when you see master plans like this come to fruition through the various different land use mixes of the housing and the employment, education, etc., etc. But Chris, I'm going to come to you now on this, and it's already been alluded to by Sally, is that when you're planning for such strategic development at scale around settlements like this, like Burgess Hill, a common gripe that I faced an enormous amount of in town and village halls across boroughs and districts has been that strategic development doesn't have that joined up thinking, especially when it comes to things like infrastructure.
Yeah.
So my question, Chris, is, what infrastructure is actually being developed and being delivered to successfully implement this concept of a 20-minute neighbourhood?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Simon, and morning everyone as well. So I think, quite often infrastructure either gets bolted on or it's not considered, in the whole when we're kind of looking at these kind of at scale developments. And certainly where we've got a number of different partners involved, it's really, really important, to make sure that we're picking up all aspects of infrastructure, whether it's sustainable travel and transport infrastructure through to digital infrastructure. So I'm going to just kind of, hopefully the team can just pull up a couple of slides, and we'll just have a little walk through kind of where we're at. So I'm sure most people will recognise the importance of good quality infrastructure. And given obviously recent pandemic and weather events, Mid Sussex have very much been at the pioneering edge of delivering what I'm going to call, really, really groundbreaking, high quality digital and transport infrastructure. So, the focus has very much been on Burgess Hill. So that's our kind of pilot project. Our aspiration is obviously to roll this out across the rest of the region. So next slide, please, team. So digital infrastructure, I'm going to focus on first. Councillor Hillier has already mentioned, how reliant we've become on good broadband connectivity, something we always knew would happen, but it's just been accelerated through the pandemic. And clearly, Mid Sussex are very much undergoing its own digital revolution. And what I mean by that is that we've actually started and we've nearly completed building out our own public sector network. So this is a public sector owned fibre network that has both a local component and focus, but also connecting back at a regional scale. And this is connecting some of the tech clusters that we know already exist up at Crawley and up through to the London Internet Exchange, but also through to some of the creative industries in the likes of Brighton and the Greater Brighton region. And what's important is that Burgess Hill is very much at the centre of that. And Mid-Sussex is certainly, right in the centre of that spine route. And that creates an overall about a 90-kilometre ecosystem of good quality digital connectivity. And what's important here, of course, is that we're connecting. We're not just looking at this in isolation, but we're also connecting back to the national network. And that's important for organisations who may want to connect outside of the region, but also very much look to invest in Mid-Sussex as a destination. So you're probably asking, well, what's actually special about a fibre network? Because we're seeing fibre networks everywhere else, and surely that's what organisations like Virgin and BT and City Fibre, they're all putting fibre networks everywhere. Well, they are, but this is a public sector owned network, and what that means is that we are managing it through a cooperative model, and the cooperative model allows us to provide access to any alternate network provider to provide services across it or to put their fibre in it. So if you think of it almost like a mutualized network that drives competition in the market and lowers the cost of connection. So this makes it really, really attractive for small startup organizations to get immediate connectivity and to be able to directly then invest in their own small local networks off the back of that. And I'll give some examples in a minute. Secondly, obviously, we've got a Scaffold Network, and the Scaffold Network is very much focused around Burgess Hill to reflect and pick up all of the growth that's happening. It's gigabit capable, and that means that residents and businesses and local communities can get immediate gigabit connectivity through our network. Our network is also built up with what's called dark fibre, which is dedicated point-to-point connectivity. So that allows any organisation, any business to effectively have unlimited bandwidth and connect between sites, between centres. But it also means that we're able to pick up locations such as our Victoria Business Park, Sheddingdean Industrial Estates, and connect that through to our new science and tech parks and some of the work that's going on around the Northern Arc. So we've worked very, very closely with partners, with Homes England, and as part of the Northern Arc, hopefully for those that can see it on the left-hand slide, you'll kind of see all of the red route. And we've very much installed what we're going to call a mutualized network. So that allows any organization to come in and actually put in their own connections through that network, and allows every home to have its own dedicated fibre connection. So we're calling this our kind of home run network. And we very much believe this will encourage more creative startups, people who want to kind of start businesses from home and then obviously grow to realise their potential. Next slide, please. So we've very much adopted, the council have very much adopted an enabler role to stimulate that further market activity. And as Sally's already mentioned, we've secured nearly £15 million worth of grant funding to fill a lot of the gaps where the market hasn't invested. And there's more to come, and we're continuing to build out and start serving some of our rural communities. So just a couple of images there, just to show some of the fibre network. Next slide, please. So what have we done in terms of, and the questions you're probably asking, why the local authority getting involved in what should be the telecoms market? So that a lot of this is to address market failure and where the market don't see that attractive at the moment. And roles that we've adopted have been such as, actually adopting our own planning policy that actively works with developer partners, and our own dig once strategy. So that's very much what we're doing and working alongside with Homes England to provide that mutualised ducting so that we don't have a competition for space in the ground, which we know is highly prized. And of course, we don't want lots of cabinets and boxes suddenly sprouting up all over new developments. So, very much the cooperative model very much looks to facilitate and pick up that. We've also then adopted an approach where The authority will pick up any of that new ducting and fibre installed, and then we'll operate and manage it through the cooperative, which has a whole range of different members. So our fibre network links through the A2300, as Sally mentioned before. It links to the new science parks. It links through to the national network. And obviously, most importantly, it picks up and links directly through to our residents and all of our local businesses. Okay, next slide, please. So the other part of this then, digital's one aspect, and we are all becoming more and more reliant on it. But the second part of this is sustainable infrastructure and sustainable transport. So we've also been developing a programme alongside the digital programme to recognise the need for better sustainable transport links. And we've complemented a lot of the fibre network with over 12 kilometres of new and improved walking and cycling routes right the way across Burgess Hill. So these routes definitely provide better access to our transport hubs, such as the two stations, the two mainline stations in Burgess Hill, the main station itself, and at Wivelsfield, which is one of our outline stations, but also provide direct access to a lot of our employment sites. So they link out to the A2300, to the new science park locations, and also pick up a lot of upgraded routes to connect through to our local amenities, such as our parks and open spaces, our shops, and also some of our healthcare centres. So it's really important that we end up with a very nice blend of urban routes, but also routes that can actually connect out to leisure facilities, so that we end up with a very, very nice mix for those people who want to commute to work through cycling or walking, but also those people who want to take time out to enjoy some of the really, really good rural parts of on the outskirts of Burgess Hill. Last slide, please. So yeah, just a couple of examples, and you can clearly see the improvements that we've made, kind of before and after shots. So, this whole network of active travel routes, will connect people through to our employment locations. It very much serves the concept of our 20-minute neighbourhood, and also connections through to the development that Graham will talk through in a minute, the Northern Arc. It very much complements the work that's going on across the Northern Arc, but connects Burgess Hill and its town centre with a network of sustainable direct travel corridors. The cycling and walking routes are very much, as I say, kind of where possible, we've looked at complementing the fibre network, and we've very much put a dig once policy in place, so that where possible on many of these routes, there is fibre networks running underneath it. So again, that allows us to get out and, reach some of our more isolated locations, and we'll talk a bit about that later, and certainly some of our rural communities. I think that's it, Simon. I don't know if that kind of picks up and answers your question as such, as to what we're doing and what we're investing in. And hopefully I've not mentioned cars or any of that side of it. It's all sustainable.
No, I think that's absolutely brilliant. And thank you very much, Chris. I mean, when we normally think of infrastructure in place-making terms, it is normally the green spaces, it's normally education, it's normally health, etc. But sometimes, in a sense, the connectivity gets interwoven at the very last moment. So it's actually quite encouraging to see this all coming together as one package, as opposed to, I hate to say the word afterthought, but sometimes that's how it can seem rather disjointed when it comes to placemaking. And I guess this is a great opportunity then to bring in Graham, actually from this point of view, in the fact that, Graham, Homes England is one of the key delivery partners in all of this for the Northern Arc. And, it would be great to get a bit of a sense from yourself, from the Homes England perspective, on actually how this is actually progressing, and is it actually creating a place from your perspective?
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Hi, everybody. Again, just to introduce myself, I'm the new project director for the Northern Arc at Burgess Hill. And we've heard reference to Homes England many times during the conversation this morning. I'm just wondering whether a number of people haven't actually heard of us before, which will be disappointing, but nonetheless, we've been described by the Secretary of State. I think this really sums it up in terms of being the Swiss Army knife of housing delivery. So that means that we can get involved in a number of different aspects of growth within the region and within the area. Specifically with regard to Burgess Hill and the Northern Arc, I think three parts of the Swiss Army knife principally that we're delivering there is the land ownership. We've been able to come in and acquire land so that we can take a holistic approach to delivery. Infrastructure, we've been able to tap into government funds to provide infrastructure, again, at a holistic level. And then land disposal, which is the net product. So with those three things, I think we've been working really closely with MSTC and WSCC in terms of delivery. And Homes England brings that ability to develop out 3,500 homes and all the associated infrastructure in one hit. So you can see at the moment on site that we're delivering the Eastern and Western link roads and bridge. And we just got funding approval just before Christmas, well over £100 million to make the connection in between, which has been referred to as the avenue. So that will be subject to consultation and reserve matters applications in due course. But it just highlights that where you might otherwise find a number of developers and myriad developers hoping to create a whole and hoping to connect their roads and other essential sort of connections and green space, that can often be a hope and a desire, but actually this is what we can deliver as one agency and working really closely with MSTC. So I think that's the one big advantage of being Homes England and having access to significant funds from the government, and also being able to work as one key partner with MSTC rather than MSTC having to deal with a myriad of them. And to quote Megan Trainor, it's all about the place. The place was already there when we started. So, particularly the green spaces is the place that we start off with. And the various layers of infrastructure are added onto that. And it's not just about tarmac and concrete. It's about the enhancements that we're going to make. It's interesting to see the statistics in terms of the Northern Arc. Over half of the whole of the land area within our ownership is going to be green space or existing green space. And interwoven within that, and this is the benefit of a holistic approach, is that we can have connecting footpaths, cycle paths, bridleways, green spaces. So just looking at the first slide, if you could pull that up, Amy. This is just an illustration in terms of the green space. And as I say, over half of the land ownership that we have is green space. And it's just showing some of the principal routes. And I think this just shows also the connectivity within Burgess Hill as itself. I think we're familiar with developments elsewhere in the country which can often turn their back or not address properly connection and interface with the existing towns and cities. And that's absolutely not the intention here at Northern Arc. And it's very much a case of providing an extension for the benefit of the existing residents of Burgess Hill, as well as a new place, the new residents of Northern Arc. So we could have the next slide again, please, Amy. It's a bit of a blurry slide, but just to say, obviously the purpose of this discussion this morning is about connectivity. Principally, we've done a little map here in terms of walking connectivity, which is just one of the strands of how to move around the Northern Arc. And you can see the vast majority of access is provided from the three neighbourhood centres that we're building within 5 minutes walking distance. And then within 10 minutes walking distance, you can see that we've virtually got the whole of the Northern Arc covered. So that is just an illustration of the connectivity that we're talking about today. And just in terms of where we are on site, if we could go to the next slide, Amy. Sorry, this is just another slide in terms of the connections that we've got with cycle routes, pedestrian routes, public rights of way, and shared cycle routes. So you can see that the Northern Arc is just interspersed with various different types of modal transport. And that's why I was very keen to say it's not just about the tarmac. Next slide, please, Amy. So in terms of what's happening physically within the Northern Arc, I think most people will be aware that the eastern extensions to the road network and the western extensions to the road network are very well progressed at the moment. And as I say, we just secured funding to be able to complete the middle section. What that manifests itself in terms of development on site, we have Site 1A, which most people will probably be familiar with. That's Countryside. They're really cracking on with their development. They're using Stuart Mill as a modern method of manufacture construction technique. So those homes are really making rapid progress. And after all of this effort from all of the various agencies, the first people will be moving into the Northern Arc late April, early May, and that's fantastic news for Countryside and for the residents of Burgess Hill. Over 50% of the Countryside scheme will be affordable housing, so it's just to highlight really that we're in some places exceeding policy compliance and across the whole meeting policy in terms of affordable housing. So this isn't an exclusive neighbourhood. It's open to all, accessible to all. And so there's a mix of community, social housing and affordable housing and sale housing, and with all the associated infrastructure that comes with that, including 3 new schools as well, which will again benefit not just the benefits of the Northern Arc, but other residents and pupils from Burgess Hill. So 1A, well underway. That's the site, sort of a light orange colour. Site 1B is currently subject to a planning application by Bellway. We're hoping for reserve matters approval April, May time, fingers crossed. And then 1C, which sort of completes the extent of development we can bring off the current area of the road. We're currently in negotiations with the developer on that, and we should be able to announce them in the next couple of months. So that's rapid progress in terms of development on the east side. On the west side, again, a slightly smaller section of highway infrastructure there, but that's virtually complete. And as a result of that, we're marketing sites 1DA and 1DB. 1DA will be home to a neighbourhood centre, which is crucial to sort of link in that corner of the development, and will deliver around about 300 homes. And then we've also made a small medium enterprise developer opportunity for 34 homes at the bottom end of that phase. We've just been out to the market, lots of interest. That's really, really good to know. And then we're just in discussions internally at the moment about how we'll market phase 1E, which is the employment site, which again is a key part of the development dumbbell on the left-hand side, and a really prominent and important site coming off the roundabout as it does. And that will deliver 24,000 square metres of employment floor space. So just again, in terms of connectivity, we're providing schools, open spaces, the homes, the jobs. And I think the COVID pandemic that we've been through just highlights the need for developments such as this to be self-sustaining and to provide those connections. And it's just highlighted the need for societies and communities to interact perhaps a bit more than they were doing before COVID. So there's more of a need to be working locally, to be working from home, and to be enjoying the place that you live. It's not just a place that you go home at night and sleep and then wake up in the morning and go back to work again. So from my perspective, really fantastic and interesting project to be involved in. Really, really good relationship I've established already with MSTC. And I think just to highlight that it's all in the planning. And Sally mentioned that we've been working on this since 2006, and the length of time taken to plan this development is about the same length of time as it will take to finish it. And that just shows you how much effort, consideration and thought goes into planning and delivering these areas. So it's a fascinating project to be involved in, and I'm really looking forward to working with developers to fill in all the colours on that map, but also to create a new environment for 3,500 new homes. Thanks, Simon.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Graham. And it does show that you are kind of like the key, one of the instrumental keys to all of this, and bringing all the various partners together, whether that be the infrastructure providers or the house builders or whoever it is, to actually have that joined up working, and trying to deliver this in relation with mid Sussex, which is fantastic. I will just pause there for a second for everyone just to gather their thoughts on that. To everybody who's currently watching this live right now, please continue to submit your questions via the Q&A function. We have been getting quite a lot in, and I will try and put as many of your questions as possible to the panel as a result of it, but please do let them keep on coming in, and we'll get through as many as we possibly can. Where we can't get through to your question, then I'm pretty sure there'll be some follow-up material after this session, which Shelley may be able to provide a bit more information on at the end. So just going through through all of it. Sally, if I can just quickly come to you first. I mean, it's a big project. It's a huge, ambitious project that you've got going on here. So how exactly important is the partnership working for Mid Sussex? And, you know, how do you get everybody's buy-in for this?
Partnership working is absolutely key. We're a relatively small district, and as you've said, it's an ambitious programme, and we do consider that we like to punch above our weight. But partnership is the key to success. Homes England clearly is a key delivery partner. They've got the power behind them, as Graham said, to acquire the land and to resolve some of the issues that we were facing around land acquisition and equalisation. But it's also partners with the county authority. They are the highways authority. They are the education authority. It's critical that they are part of that whole programme and discussion. It's partnership with the coastal capital LEP. They've been critical and fundamental to some of the significant amounts of money that I was talking about earlier in terms of funding that delivery. So it's important, and the way we manage all of that is through, as you would imagine, quite a complex governance programme. So all of those parties and partners are involved at decision making throughout the programme. And that's the way that we maintain those relationships, maintain those conversations. As you would imagine, on a programme this complex, we have monthly programme level meetings, but we also have monthly project level meetings. So it's complex, it's big, and that's why it has taken time to deliver. But you can see we're firmly in the delivery phase, but it is very much about partnership working. So thank you for that question.
That's brilliant. And Graham, I didn't know whether you wanted to also follow up on any points there. I mean, to have the buy-in from Mid Sussex District Council is one thing, but then it's bringing on all the other partners with you as well and trying to coordinate all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we have to remember that no one can do this individually, and that's why it is a partnership, because to get to the end objective, we have to work together. And you know, the real benefit of working at Burgess Hill with MSDC is that we're all travelling in the same direction. And I think it's fair to say that, you know, that there could be developments that Homes England gets involved in where it's more difficult and more challenging. But I think there's very much an open door attitude with MSDC and WSCC. We're sort of very heavily reliant in terms of local inputs, in terms of the planning. Everybody on the call today and all the residents all have the ability to influence design, both through local plan, the outline planning applications, both of which have gone through. But now reserve matters the real grain of involvement and thoughts in terms of when the developers put the planning applications in. So there's plenty of opportunity for everybody to contribute to try and get what they want out of this development. So yeah, it's all about partnerships, all about engagement. It won't happen without it.
And Sally, you want to come back on that or add to?
I do, thank you very much. I think it's really notable that for a scheme of 3,500 homes, 2 primary schools, secondary school, 3 neighbourhood centres, the outline planning application received, 10 objections. It's almost unheard of, isn't it? And that's what I'm saying. It's really buying into delivering a vision that was created at a very early stage by the community. I'm not sure there are many schemes that large that would receive that few representation. I mean, we have smaller schemes that get hundreds of representations. So that's pretty impressive. And I think that's down to delivering the community's vision.
Yes, I must admit, I'm trying to think of any particular large-scale schemes that would have that level of objection or that minimal level of objection. And I'm struggling to think. So I think you could be the first one as a result. So no, thank you very much for that, Sally. Chris, can I come to you, please? We've got a few questions here that have been asked from the floor. Everyone's really excited about the connectivity that's going on in Burgess Hill as part of this Northern Arc development, whether that be the gigabit digital connectivity that you're working on, but also the sustainable travel. And it's the sustainable travel that I want to touch on first. In particular, there are some people there that have said this is fantastic in bringing more sustainable travel options to deliver the 20-minute neighbourhood concept. What kind of considerations have you also given to those with like protected characteristics, so disabilities and things like that it also then makes sure that it's also an inclusive community as well through the sustainable travel that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's some great questions that are coming up from the audience, and on that particular point, we did engage right at the beginning as part of our consultation process with quite a wide group of stakeholders, including kind of mobility, maybe mobility impaired user groups, just to try and engage and understand, what people's expectations would be. And what we've tried to build into all of our projects, whether they are some of the urban routes, whether they are improving access into our parks and open spaces, or whether or not it's the likes of the Green Circle route, which is very much more predominantly leisure focused, all of them are fully kind of disability accessible. And we deliberately went on a kind of an audit of all of the locations where it made it difficult for people to get. So we've removed barriers. We've provided a lot more more kind of user-friendly accessibility, so directly off the highway network. And we've worked very, very closely with West Sussex County Council as the highway authority to ensure that everything has gone through proper safety audits and, let's just call them kind of, engineering checks and balances, so that all users, are very much catered for. All of the paths, we've very much made them wide enough to allow for multi-use at any one point in time. And that includes right the way through to equestrians on some of our leisure routes, but also other projects such as the Wibblesfield station connectivity. We've worked with Network Rail and other partners to make sure that the routes actually connect the local neighbourhood directly to the station curtilage. And, kind of then looked at, very much, how do we then get people safely across things like car parks? Have we got the right provision around, some of the markings and the drop crossings? So, I can confidently say that all of our locations, on all of the routes, very much cater, for all users. And, I fully understand, there's a whole spectrum of different users, but we wanted to make these as inclusive as possible, in terms of our design and the function of it, whilst respecting the locations. And in some areas, we can't put, hard concrete or tarmac everywhere. They have to kind of recognise the rurality of some of these locations. But we very much, kept that at the forefront of what we've been proposing and what's actually gone in on the ground.
That's great, Chris. Thank you very much. Sally, you wanted to come in on that.
Yes, it's about more partnership working, actually. So we've been working closely with Network Rail, and we worked with them over a bid for Access for All money, because I think it's fair to say those that know Wibblesfield Station know it feels like the least accessible railway station on the Brighton Main Line. So we've secured over 1 million with them, and we are looking at lift access. So that money is being used to design improvements to Wibblesfield Station. We've also been working with Network Rail over a comprehensive regeneration scheme at Burgess Hill Station, which we're hoping will also deliver accessibility improvements to the station so that everybody can access the Brighton Main Line effectively.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Sally. I'm just conscious of time, so I can sneak in a few more questions. Graham, can I come to you, please? There seems to be a couple of people who are very interested in this particular project by the looks of things, and wondering what opportunities there are for those small to medium-sized consultancies, architects, etc., to get involved in this kind of work. And I guess following on from that, Sally, again, it plays into the partnership working, doesn't it? And bringing on different types of people from all different backgrounds and all different sizes to get involved. So, Graham, can I just come to you and just get your thoughts on that first, and then perhaps go to Sally afterwards?
Yeah, sure. Well, in terms of securing disposals and the consultants' inputs to that, we effectively run a system across the whole of Homes England when we're disposing of sites with a pre-selected developer partner panel. So anyone can apply to be on that panel. And in essence, it's divided very simply into large sites and small sites. So if there are consultants on the call today, the membership of the large panel, which is probably where they could source some work, is available on the internet. If you just Google Homes England and DPS, that will provide you with a list of contacts so that you can then say, are you working in the Northern Arc? Can I do some work for you? Are there any consultancy services I can provide? So that's one angle. The other angle is in terms of SMEs, small developers and builders who are interested in acquiring sites. If they're not already on our panel, they would need to be on the panel in order to bid for the sites. And again, Homes England DPS, and that will take you through a pro forma which developers can fill in, and then bid for the sites when they come up. I think another part of the Swiss Army knife, which I haven't really alluded to, is funding and loan assistance that Homes England can provide to small developers. So if we've got a small developer, I'm not quite sure of the exact makeup of the sites that come off the avenue, but if there are smaller sites in there, which I'm sure there will be, and developers may be thinking, well, I'm not quite sure I'm going to fund that, or it's a bit bigger than I would normally be able to find access to funds for, come and speak to Homes England, because we have a completely separate investments division that can help developers with that side of the business. So just to reiterate, if you're a developer, come into just Google Homes England and DPS, and if you're a consultant, you can find a list of the developers, and you can talk to them about future areas of work and inputs that you can provide into their schemes. Thanks.
Thanks very much for that, Graham. And Sally, I guess from a district council point of view, you'll be quite interested to hear from those small SMEs as a result, and partnership working with them as well, potentially, and see what they can offer as part of all of this.
Yes, absolutely. I think we can't forget that we're also a landowner. And we are therefore able to be a delivery partner or look for delivery partners. As part of the Burgess Hill Growth Programme, we have an area of Faulkner's Way, which is for self and custom build housing. And we're working on that particular proposal at the moment. So that will be very small independent developers, because it will be on a site-by-site basis. But on top of that, we're working with those owners of employment sites to ensure that they deliver not just the larger scale schemes, but also small units, grow on space, because we're aware from our work with employers within the existing employment business parks that a lot of them are looking for local grow on space, and they want to stay locally, but the existing business park doesn't provide that, but they're not yet ready for a bigger facility. So yes, we're working closely with the landowners of employment land to make sure we get that right mix of development types. And then I don't know, Chris, maybe Chris would like to talk about some of the work that we've been doing on social value, which I think has ensured that we secure local spend on some of the delivery of our infrastructure projects, which I think is another interesting element of this question.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always recognise, Sally, that part of this was actually it's the journey to get through to us actually creating and establishing our neighbourhoods, and creating the whole concept and delivering against our objectives of creating this 20-minute neighbourhood. But we recognise there's a huge amount of partners, and as Graham's already alluded to, Homes England have a number of organisations, through panel contracts and various frameworks that they access to actually, facilitate the delivery. And Mid Sussex are no different in that as well. We're very much looking to continue to support our SMEs, ensure that our local supply chain have access to some of these opportunities that we're going to create. So through the work we've done with both the fibre and the infrastructure, the sustainable transport infrastructure that we've put in, we've spent with our local supply chain somewhere in the region of over 85% of all of that kind of funding and value on the projects has gone through our local SMEs, which has been really, really good, hugely encouraging. We've been able to create apprenticeships. We've done works with local schools. We've very much kind of developed a number of STEM activities with local schools, and we've sponsored some kind of legacy awards around technology and sustainability. But we've also done a whole lot of work around kind of inclusivity as well. And what I mean by that, certainly in terms of the digital side, we've worked with the Mid Sussex a kind of voluntary community social enterprise groups, and we funded people like Digital Champions to help deliver training for elderly residents and people who've not had access to digital tech kit. So I think what we kind of recognise is that it's, yes, the actual outcome and the benefits and the objectives we want to achieve are really important, but also part of this is the journey that gets us there, because it builds up, and I think I used the words before, this ecosystem. And if our ecosystem develops our own talent and our own skills within a locality, then that's great, because I think someone mentioned right at the beginning, we're on this location where, it's very easy to commute out to London or to commute out to Brighton. But actually, if we can bring them centres to Burgess Hill and into the heart of Mid Sussex, where you can enjoy all of the rurality and the leisure and the really exciting kind of offer that the location, the district has, then actually you can blend a really, really healthy work-life balance. And I think we've very much, we've recognised that in our delivery, and we've been really, really careful to make sure we've selected suppliers and organisations to work with who can deliver that and help us, develop our own expertise in location, as well as clearly delivering the projects that people are going to benefit from once they're completed.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Chris. And thank you very much, Sarah and Graham, for answering that. And like everything, I mean, we could talk about this for hours, I feel like we could actually just do this for a whole for the whole morning, to be fair. But unfortunately, it's getting closer to time. So I have one final question for all of you, and plus one extra probably for Councillor Hidder as well, because I know that he's been waiting very patiently in the background and listening and absorbing all this discussion. But very quickly, I'm going to go down the line. And I'm just wondering, from your own perspectives, what are the biggest benefits that you each see coming out of Burgess Hill and this programme for its residents and its economy? And an additional question to you, Councillor Hillier, what are the current and opportunities for Mid Sussex as a whole? But we'll work our way down the line just to give you a little bit more thinking time around that. So, Chris, as you're currently up on my screen at the moment first, I will go to you first.
I was hoping you'd come to me last, Simon, so I could consider my thoughts. I mean, I'm just gonna dive straight in and talk about this kind of buzzword about having growing our own talent and very much developing some expertise in locality that gives people access to some great employment opportunities in some of this really high-tech space that we're creating. And allows people to blend that then, and who wouldn't want to, be able to get up in the morning on a, not necessarily in the recent weather we've had, but who wouldn't want to get up in the morning and walk to work and cycle to work and then have all of the amenities and the leisure facilities on the doorstep and blend that whole neighbourhood experience, and for me, that's what's really exciting for me. And that's what I'd like to see, and I hope, I can bring my children, in the future, and they can go and look at that as a location to kind of go, wow, what a great place to live and work.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Chris. Graham, let's go to you next.
I couldn't echo it more than what's just been said. I mean, I think, the panel is creating the platform for success. It's been a long time in the gestation, but there's a reason for that. It's because we want it to be a success. It's not just about tarmac roads and houses that get built quickly and sell quickly. Time will tell, but I think there's a huge amount of experience and knowledge and lessons learned from everything that's been done before, both from Homes England perspective and MSD's perspective, and all the consultants and the architects and the road designers and all the rest of it. So the platform's there, and I think as a collective we've done absolutely the best we can to make this a really fantastic place. And yeah, it's a place. Time will tell, but it's a place that we want people to want to be in, to work and to live, to enjoy the green spaces, and this will be the formation of a community. People will be born in the Northern Arc in Burgess Hill, and they will live in the Northern Arc of Burgess Hill, and they will be educated, and we want them to love that experience. So that time will tell, but I think we've put all the key components there to make that happen. So yeah.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Graham. Sally, what do you see as the biggest benefits for your residents and the economy?
I think we're delivering their vision, and how exciting is that for a group of professionals? And a number of people who work at Mid Sussex live in Burgess Hill, so they're very excited. They're residents who live on the ground, but we're delivering a vision that we work with them to create, and that's just fantastic. The most exciting thing is being able to work in partnership to secure the investment that's been needed. So that's the building blocks to create the place. But I would echo what Graham says. We want to create somewhere that people can actually genuinely be really proud to say is their home.
Fantastic. No, and it is very much, it all comes back to that central theme, doesn't it, of creating the sustainable places and creating a sense of place that people want to stay in, and using the lens of the 20-minute neighbourhood is definitely something that will be done through this project. And I hope that it continues its fruition. Councillor Hillier, what do you see as your as the biggest benefits for your residents and the economy, but also, current and future opportunities for Mid Sussex as a whole?
Well, Sally snatched probably in her last word she said, because for me it was going to be that pride in place. That place of, actually, I really love the place I live. I'm proud of this place. I'm proud of what's around me. And also that sense of community. I think probably when it snows, which we haven't seen for many years, it's wonderful. People are out walking and talking to each other, and you just feel better about your neighbourhood and the connection. So that sense of community and pride of place is something that I think this will deliver. I'm sure it will deliver. In terms of opportunities, I'm not going to rehash, colleagues have said so much, but, for employers, it's the ability to benefit from fantastic road, rail, digital links whilst being within 10 minutes walk of countryside. And employees, it's an improved quality of life because they're not going to have the length of the commit. And also, as Chris was saying, local businesses benefit is actually one of our internal kind of performance indicators, is the percentage of contracts that are going to local businesses. That is really important to us. For me, one of the exciting opportunities, because I'm a bit of a science nut, is the science and technology park, which will be coming on stream, where we're hoping that employers and all of us will benefit from presence and input from at least one of the two universities in Brighton. So that is going to could potentially be a really big deal locally. And again, benefiting from the links to Gatwick, having some sort of international presence. As far as people listening, we've got a steady pipeline of employment and commercial development opportunities throughout the district, a considerable amount for a rural thing. And all of it benefits from this 20-minute neighbourhood that we've been talking about today. So I think probably the easiest thing, I'm not going to list anything, but people are interested in what we have to offer. I think that Sally and her team are hoping to present development opportunities in the various sites at the Summer Real Estate Live events. And I would definitely recommend that people look up on the website, which is the opportunitymidsussex.co.uk, where they can read about what we've been talking about today, but also just get in touch with Sally and her team. I'm embarrassed that they have been brilliant. They've already demonstrated with some medium-sized businesses who've been in touch, spoken to them, and they've been here, moved on the ground quickly. And it's important for people listening to this show that, you know, there's an investment opportunity. You want to be able to get it on the ground and get the returns quickly. And that's what we can deliver. And look forward to welcoming you to Mid-Sussex.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Councillor Hiller. And just like that, unfortunately, we've run out of time. And I apologise, Shelley, for running slightly over as a result of that. So I'm just going to say thank you very much to all the panellists, Councillor Stephen Hillier, Sally Blomfield, Chris Founds and Graham Hislop. Thank you so much for your time and discussing this. This has been fantastic. I'm certainly very excited from a southeast region perspective of the RTPI. And I look forward to seeing how it all manifests itself in the year and years to come on that. So, Shelley, with that, I will pass back to you.
Thank you, Simon, very much. And thanks to all of you for a great discussion, which, yes, we could have gone on all day, I'm sure. There is still more to come from Real Estate Live UK.